So out here on the trails. Great. Sarasota just announced we now have malaria. Hey everybody, it's been a little while since I've posted a video, but I've did a bunch of hiking, obviously getting ready for a long hike me and a buddy did. And then we took a little time off, and then Florida got really hot. So took a little time off, but back out here in the woods, having a good time. I'm gonna answer some of you guys' automation questions, and we're gonna sprinkle in a little bit about geocaching, which is a fun little task to do. Not really a task, I guess it's a game or a pastime to do when you're out in the woods, out hiking in parks, things like that. And I'll explain a little bit about that as we go along. All right, see ya. All right, I'm gonna talk very quietly now because we've got a family of deer there. Spooked them, they rustled around a little bit, but I don't think they see me anymore. Or they're looking dead at me, one or the other. So they're all hiding off in the shade because it's pretty hot out. See how close we can get without spooking them. So I came out to a place called Alligator Point. Unfortunately, the water's too high. I can't really get to it, so can't go see all the alligators. But oh well, it's still a nice hike. I got this nice little shady spot here at the end. So I want to answer one of the questions that I was asked recently on LinkedIn, and they wanted to know my opinions on the whole work from home, back to office debate, right? So, I mean, it's pretty obvious. We all, in some fashion, worked from home during COVID. You know, some manufacturing plants didn't shut down. I mean, our manufacturing, I think we shut down for a week in the beginning, and then we opened back up again. And some management and the manufacturing staff came in. Of course, we were all, you know, socially distanced and all that stuff, wearing masks. But engineering, you know, we sent home and we left home for a little while. But we were able to do that through the normal means of communication, using, you know, Teams and Zoom videos and you know, email and even phone calls, right? It was a little disruptive, but it worked out for the most part. We really did not lose that much productivity. As time went on, we brought more and more people back to the office. Some people wanted to come back to the office. I think they were, you know, getting a little stir crazy during COVID. And we found that, you know, some people worked better in the office by choice. Some people worked better out of the office, you know, especially programmers, I find, because they just, you know, they're going to pop on their headphones. They're just going to pound out code. They don't want somebody coming tapping them on the shoulder and asking them a question. They don't want people walking past their cubicle or their desk or things like that. They just want to get into the zone. And sometimes, you know, I think most programmers know this. I know I'm this way. You know, sometimes you're in the zone programming, and there's other times you're just not in the zone. And if you're not in the zone and you're in that office from, say, 8 to 5, then you're not real productive. And why would you want to go home then and work on something at 7, 8, 9 o'clock? However, if you are working from home and you're not feeling that real productive in the morning, but then all of a sudden you get some inspiration late at night, then you work late at night. And it really all comes down to how much of good of a work ethic does this person have? I've seen a couple phrases around on LinkedIn saying, like, you know, if they were lazy in the office, they're going to be lazy at home, and that's true. And vice versa. It's people have to have a good work ethic, have to be trusted to get the work done. I've always been a big believer in the work should just get done as quickly as possible and as correctly as possible. I don't care if it takes you 20 hours or 60 hours. If it's taking you 20, probably could give you some more work. If it's taking you 60, you might need some help. But in the long run, if it all kind of just averages out and it gets the work done on schedule, I really don't care what your hours are or where you're doing them from. Now, you know, one of the considerations here too, of course, is, you know, the connectivity to the project itself. So again, speaking mainly from a automation machinery building standpoint, but you know, you need to sometimes see the machine coming together. The assemblers are maybe going to have questions about how things go together. Sometimes those could be answered, you know, remotely over communication methods like Teams or such. But other times you got to just come in and get your hands on the machine and get your hands dirty. So, you know, I believe that some roles are going to be hybrid roles. They're going to be in the office for a little bit and they're going to be out of the office for a little bit. But, you know, that's still giving the employees who want to work from home a lot of what they need, but it also, you know, gets the employer what they need, and that's hands-on the project. There's the other aspect too that people will bring up is just the collaboration and creativity that comes from groups and bumping into people and talking in the halls. And that's absolutely important. You know, I know that I used to get a lot of information just walking around talking to people out in the shop or on the engineering floor. But again, it doesn't mean that, you know, it has to be every day in the office. It doesn't even mean that you have to live in the same city. You know, we had two electrical designers, electrical engineers that lived, you know, hundreds and hundreds of miles away in another state. They communicated a lot via Teams and via video and phone calls and all like that, but we also would fly them down every month or so just to connect with the team and just to so they could see the things that they're designing and making and all that, and make sure you know, they're getting that bit of self-worth and satisfaction from the job that they've done. A lot of engineers are that way. They want to see what they've built. So you know, the answer, I think, is a mixture, and it really depends on the person. I know a lot of employers are saying, you know, mandatory back to work, you know, full-time, 40 hours a week in the office, and I really think that's going to hurt them in some ways. Some people won't mind; they'll just go back. Other people will look at this and go, no, you know, I've got a better balance. I've been working this way for 2-3 years. I know people who started right before COVID at a job, so they've known nothing but remote work. They're you know, at that company the entire time, and now they're saying come back to the office, and it's totally alien to them. It's like it's a brand new office. They never really went into the office. So that's going to be, you know, a big shock for some people. I think employers just need to be understanding. I think they need to be able to set some rules, but they also need to be able to break those rules and have some little exceptions to those rules, depending on the employee. There are some employees that we found that just, they weren't real productive at home. And we just told them that, look, you know, that's not an option for you. You're coming into the office. Other people, we were saying, you work well, you know, outside the office, that's okay. And some people might say that that's, you know, being, you know, kind of discriminatory, but it's really not. It's you need to get the job done, and if you're not performing outside the office, then, you know, the employer has every right to say, you know, you need to get back into the office so that we can make sure that we're getting this work done. You know, obviously, if they're not getting the work done in the office, then, you know, why do you have them as an employee? You probably should, you know, allow them to move on to, you know, greener pastures. But the bottom line is, it's got to be a give and take between the employer and the employee. Any mandates one way or the other, you have to be in the office, or the employee saying, I'm not coming back, it's not really going to get you anywhere. You've got to be able to compromise, and you know, hopefully, you know, the employer and the employee can come to mutually satisfactory agreement, and everybody wins in the end. So those are my thoughts on that. Let me know if you guys have other thoughts, and answer another question here in a little bit. Look at the size of this tree that uprooted. I mean, it's massive. This is the second damn deer to scare the hell out of me. I'm just walking along, and all of a sudden he bolts right across the trail. This trail's got a lot of wildlife on it today. So just to explain what geocaching is, it's kind of a game of hide and seek. There's a website, you go to it, you can look at a map, you can put in coordinates, and find geocaches that are hidden around you. And a lot of times they're in parks, or you know, in fields, streams. Sometimes they're in urban areas. And the whole idea is that you put in the coordinates. So back in the day, we had Garmin handhelds where we had to enter the coordinates, and it guides you to that spot. And then it's usually hidden somewhere like under a tree or under a log, or in urban environments, they get really devious and make up hex head, a bolt of a head of a hex head bolt with a magnet on the back, and they'll stick it onto a structure. And that's the actual one. You gotta find the one that's kind of out of place. So some of them get pretty devious, but it's a fun little thing to do if you're in a park or you're strolling around a new city or something like that. You can download the app Geocache, and I've been doing it for 20 years now. Hundreds and hundreds of finds. I used to have a couple that I hid as well too, and I'd maintain them, but eventually those got away, and holy crap, there's something big in the woods right there. Okay, let's just keep on walking. Second question that's been posed to me a few times is, what do you think about all the new robotic and automation startups and the landscape right now? I think this has kind of been beat to death a little bit, but we'll go over it one more time. Obviously, back during COVID and just a little bit after, there was a flurry of venture capital funds going into startups, robot companies that are getting 30, 40, 50, 60 million, even more than that, 500 million for a robotic pizza company. And a lot of them have failed, which is the nature of, venture capital. You've got to kiss a lot of frogs and, make a lot of bets, and a lot of them don't pan out. However, I gotta wonder why they're continuing to fund some of these kind of outrageous ideas. I'm not gonna name any names, but there's some ideas out there that just aren't scalable. They're not gonna be billion-dollar companies. They're not gonna be $100 million companies, probably, to be honest with you. They'll get bought by some large conglomerate, before they turn into that. But, venture capital keeps dumping money into some of these companies. I always asked, why would you dump $50 million into basically a company that is no more than just a glorified machine builder, and starting it from scratch, by the way, when you've got machine builders out there, good quality mid-tier machine builders that if you just injected $5 to $10 million, into them and said, hey, go spend that on sales, go spend that on product development, you would get your money back in spades. So we're seeing that come to an end, though. VC money's drying up. Private equity, though, is not. It's still fast and furious. Lots of acquisitions, a lot of mid-tier automation companies getting bought up, turned into platforms, and then companies trying to then add on other little satellite companies to them to complement their skill sets. So, pardon me, it is hot out here today. So, in the end, venture capital money is probably going to be a little tight next couple of years. Anybody who is in a startup and quite frankly has the VC, has the CEO, and if they do not have a very strong right-hand person who knows automation, they're probably in trouble. This is a difficult industry. Everybody knows that. You got to know the secrets. You might think you can go against the grain and do something completely different, and that's how we get disruption, but you can also look for warning signs that maybe that's not working. I think a perfect example of that is the RAS model. I've preached on this probably as much as I have on cobots, that I don't see how the custom machine RAS model works. It doesn't work. You have to have a standard product that you can redeploy super easily, pull one off the shelf, send it out. If they can send it back, retool it, send it back out again. So you add in those higher interest rates right now, and it's not looking like a good place to be. So hopefully those companies can pivot. Hopefully they can develop some standard products, and become at least break even. It's going to be hard to be profitable when you're $50 million in the hole, but at least you can maybe get some of that money back and start to develop. So that's thoughts on acquisitions, startups, and venture capital. We'll move on to the next question. So here's an example of a geocache you might be looking for. So my navigation pointed me over here, this is a big tree, the only kind of big tree in the area. Usually that's a good indicator of somewhere that you're gonna hide something. And then you kind of come down here, and all right, usually maybe on the back side of the tree. So I'm speeding this process along. Normally I'd kind of look all around this tree. I cheated a little bit because I already found this one. And we're coming up in here, still can't see anything. Nooks and crannies. Oh, wait, what's that? It's a frog. So most of them have a little thing inside there. You open that up and you'll pull out a little piece of paper. It's a log to sign. It kind of goes back to the days before the internet, but now you can log them online via the app. But this one is this one's called, "Hey, isn't that the frog that stole my car?" from Line from the Wind in the Willows. Anyway, we just put him back as a little hiding spot, and somebody else will find him maybe in a few days. Here's another tricky one. Look at this fallen tree, which is kind of a neat landmark. You got this big old tree over here, that log. I looked all over there. Looked all over this fallen tree until I looked over the edge, and there you go. That's the geocache, the log at the end of it there. So this one's called Broken Arrow. Who hid this? So one reader sent me a question about project management in the industrial automation world, and every company handles it a little bit differently. I can tell you how I've handled it in the past. I think there's some companies that the head mechanical engineer is usually the project manager on any project. Wow! So you can just see there a gator just popped into the water. I didn't even see him sitting on the log over there, so that scared the crap out of me. Anyway, just make sure he doesn't come back up. There he is. He was kind of behind that tree. I didn't see him when I came over here and sat down. And then he plopped into the water. It's probably about a 6-footer. Rule of thumb is from the nose to the eyes in inches is equal to the number of feet long the alligator is. Just a rule of thumb, of course. It's not exact, but yeah, good sized little guy there, just chilling out. So project management, mechanical engineers a lot of times will head up a project. It just kind of makes sense. A lot of times they're the first ones on the project. They're designing the layout and things like that. But not all engineers are great project managers. So we decided years ago that we were putting a project manager, somebody who that's their job is to be that central hub in between engineering and sales and applications and manufacturing and testing and debug and controls and all of that. They are that central point. They are the one point of contact for the customer. If customer has a problem, they call up the project manager and talk to the project manager. If they need to go get information from engineering or from manufacturing or from sales, they're going to go do that. So the customer doesn't have to call multiple people, and we don't have multiple people all talking to the customer. There's that one conduit of information back and forth. It doesn't mean that the engineers won't interact with them in design reviews and in visits and things like that, but they aren't going to be the one who is the first point of contact, for most of the projects. So, this project manager handles everything from schedule to determining if, a request is inside scope or outside scope. Is it going to be a change order? Is it going to delay the project, because of a change the customer wanted to make? Or maybe the product came in and it was different than what we were told the product was going to be. Never happens, of course, in the automation world. But, they are really the glue that holds these projects together. Quite honestly, I can't imagine an organization who doesn't have dedicated project management once you hit probably about 10 or more projects a year. Before that, you can probably handle it on a case-by-case basis with the engineer, but once you start getting into higher volumes, you really need a dedicated project management staff, and it's something that a lot of companies don't invest in. They just kind of stumble through, And once they get some dedicated project management, they really begin to reap the rewards. You can really help speed up your processes. You can adhere to your processes better. Hopefully you already have some processes. And then it just allows you to be a whole lot more dynamic, take on larger projects, and quite honestly, let the engineers focus on what they're good at. Let them do design work, let them do the programming and electrical design and things like that. And let the project managers do what they're good at, which is managing projects. So hopefully that answers a little bit of your questions. If you've got any thoughts on project management, put them down in the comments below. Thanks. I always wonder about stuff like this. That's the trail ahead of me. It's pretty much straight, right? You can see the traffic from people and animals. And then you got this. Like, why are we curving all over the place? I don't get that. I mean, just go straight. So thanks for tuning in to another episode of Automation AMA. Appreciate you listening to my opinions. If you are a manufacturer or an OEM machine builder or even a component supplier in the automation industry, please, if you have any questions or you want to pick my brain or you want to have somebody come in, take a look at your operations and maybe suggest some improvements, happy to help you out. You can reach me at sean@automationama.com or just send me a note here on LinkedIn. I appreciate it, and see you out on the trail next time.